now move towards probably the most awaited segment of the evening, which is the Tobago Sustainable Future for Health oration. It would be great to please have you on the dais. Dr. Prakash Amte, Dr. Mandakini Amte, please. We would love to hear from you, sir.
Thank you, Tobago, for inviting both of us for this oration. Of course, this project, Lok Biradari, means People's Brotherhood Project. It was an idea of Baba Amte. I don't know how he thought of this what do you call the cut off from the world. This generation was totally cut off. Having started a leprosarium, myself and my brother lived in isolation initially. There was tremendous prejudice and stigma about leprosy. So it was in near a small town, Varora, in Chandrapur district of Maharashtra. And we had education in a municipal school, Marathi medium. Very few friends actually. All relatives more or less boycotted him. His father was a landlord and he thought that he would probably increase the property and continue the tradition. But father started leprosarium in 1949. But as Baba's work started getting recognition, a lot of people started visiting Anandvan. Myself and my brother, we were in the same class. We thought of joining Baba's work, preferably after, if we get an admission in medical college, after medical graduation, we will continue his work. And fortunately for Baba's and for my parents, we got walk-in admission in Nagpur Medical College. There was not much of competition that time. And once we finished the final MBBS examination, he said, let us go for a picnic in the forest. You know, everybody feels happy to go to the forest for a couple of days. And we also thought that he would take us to the forest for 2 days. And never heard the name of this part, Bamragad. He had a four-wheel drive vehicle. We all family members were traveling in that vehicle. The distance was about 250 kilometers from Anandvan, but it took us almost 2 days to reach that place because there were no roads. A lot of rivers in between. We had to travel through the bed of the river. But the best thing of that forest was there is a confluence of 3 rivers. It's a very absolutely non-polluted water, thick forest. But it was the month of December, it was quite cold. So we had all sweaters and shawl on our body. Not only that, we had to put a fire. And we spent a night there underneath the sky, multi-star. And next day he said, now that we have come to in such a place, let us go and explore the area. Probably he knew this tribe was living there. Before starting the leprosarium, he was enjoying the landlord's son's life. He had a hobby of hunting. That was before starting Anandvan. So probably he had come to this place for hunting in his younger age. And he had the impression of the tribal. But he never told about that we are going to see the tribal life there. So he took us in a vehicle and we went to the first village. It was all thatched huts and not much of population there. But as soon as they heard the noise of a vehicle, everybody came out of their huts and they were scared. We were really surprised, we had seen the tremendous sorrow of a leprosy patient. Every leprosy patient was driven out of his house. We lived with them because they had deformity, they are all. But here, there was no deformity or no disease as such, but still the people were scared. So we started to have some dialogue with them, approached them, and all of them, believe me, all of them ran out in the forest. Like wild animals, they're scared of seeing the human beings. They ran away. We couldn't understand what is the reason. So he took us to the next village. Same thing happened. Nobody stayed in the village. They ran back to the forest. So in the evening, again, we gathered around the fire because it was too cold. Month of December, the temperature was below 10 degrees centigrade. The only difference between ourselves and them was they were almost naked. Digambar, we call them. And probably they had a bad experience of a civilized human being, so they were scared of these human beings. So everybody was thinking about the whole day's experience. And suddenly Baba said, now that you both have become medical graduate and you have decided to join me in my leprosy work, I think that we should do for these people. They are our brothers. And suddenly I realized, the intention of his picnic. And I said, Baba, you are becoming old. He was approaching 60 years of age. I said, if you start this work, I will carry on. I'm just 22 at that time, in 1970. And I could see his spark in his eyes. His intention of the picnic was probably, he was so excited. And he said, let us now go back. We applied to government of Maharashtra and there was no reply. So our internship finished. Then there was nothing most to do, so I joined the post-graduation. I did surgery. I joined surgery, and there I met Mandakini Deshpande. We were from same medical college, but we never met. She was 1 year senior to me. When she joined for anesthesia and I joined for surgery, we were working together on the same patient. Probably the wavelength matched, or the chemistry matched, whatever. We started going together, and there was a discussion among the students that probably something is going on between them two. And the message went to my father. By that time, he had received Padmasri. He had a good reputation in the society. So he and my mother called her to Anandvan. That was her first trip to Anandvan. She had never seen the leprosarium before. There is nothing to see in a leprosy patient. You could see them begging in front of the churches and the temples. But when they came to Anandvan, by the time Anandvan was well developed, all the facilities were there. And then Baba said, my son has given me a word that he is going to serve this area, to serve the tribal people, primitive tribe. And he said, she told me, and I am ready to serve you. So being a practical man, my mother first thought that my elder brother's marriage should be before younger brother's marriage. But Baba was practical. He said, if at all, if Vikas's marriage takes time, she might change her decision. So it's better to get married immediately. So, in spite of our education going on, we got married in 1972. Baba had left everything, so he had no money as such. So there is no question of going to our honeymoon, everything. I said, now that we have got married, let us go and see the area. So 2 days after our wedding, we went to that place, and then she realized how difficult this area is. First of all, there were no roads. There's no place to live as in. There are no rest houses, no resorts, no facilities in that area. And she had a choice either to say yes, or live with me there, or go back and stay in Nagpur. But she said, I have given a word, and then she, of course, that is giving a word and then living there was a great thing for her. A lot of compromises she must have done. In 73 December, government of Maharashtra gave us a land and we went there. I was about to complete my MS, but I left the education in the middle. She had completed her education in anesthesia. She got the diploma in anesthesia and was lecturer in Nagpur Medical College. So we both went there. Baba had constructed a few small sheds there, and we had constructed our own hut. That was the beginning, the turning point of my life was the picnic. We had read about tribals that they live in the forest, they eat tubers, roots, and then hunt the animals. But actual, experience, the life of a tribal had changed my life. Attitude towards this, to the life, the affluency and all, everything. But the most difficult part of our life was not these facilities. The area used to remain cut off for 6 months, and then there was no electricity, and there was no telephone. But the most frustrating point was no tribal wanted to take the advantage of our because they had never seen this. They had their own tradition. Their culture was different. They had never seen the hospital before. They had never heard of a word doctor. So naturally, they tried to keep away from us. So it was really frustrating for us. We were moving from village to village, learn their language, which was really difficult. Wadiya language is a dialect and difficult from Marathi and totally different from Marathi and Hindi. But somehow we learned the language, we learned their culture, and then we came to know that every village had village pujari, that's called, it's a quack local. He used to give some herbal medicine, chant some mantras, ask for a sacrifice. Even sometimes there was human sacrifice. So it was really testing our patience. Whether we had done a correct decision to come to that place and where nobody is taking advantage of that. But when we learned their culture, when these pujari or the local quas could not cure the patient, he said, now you go back and now God will decide. So we found some patients lying helplessly in front of their huts, and we requested the relatives. I still remember the first patient who got himself burned. He was sleeping by the side of fire, and he had an epilepsy. 40% burns, 10-year-old boy. They are taken to the pujari. He gave him medicine, but it got infected and he had maggots in his wound. So he was really helpless and really crying outside his because it was smelling. He couldn't stay in the hut. We requested the parents, why don't you bring him here? They brought to the OPD, which was under the tree. We were happy that the patient had come, removed the maggots, dressed the wounds, gave him antibiotics, and he had epilepsy. So we gave him anti-epileptic, sodium gardinal. That time it was the only drug available. And since it was a virgin patient, never taken the medicine, the effect was miraculous. The wounds got cured, the epilepsy stopped. And then more patients started coming. Second patient was serious, was brought from 30 kilometers. They put him on a bamboo, cot, or we call it barefoot ambulance. The serious critical man, the local people brought him walking 30 kilometers. We were again happy that they have come from 30 kilometers. But next moment, we got worried how to diagnose. There was no facility for investigation. Even we didn't know the language well. We examined him. We referred the books. We discussed among ourselves. And finally, we decided probably it's a case of cerebral malaria. Started quinine, glucose, cortisone. And around the clock, we were attending him. Third day, he opened his eyes. And on the fifth day, he took his cot on his shoulder and went back walking. So that made a difference. A lot of people have seen the procession coming, taking this patient to the hospital, and now, after 5 days, independently he was taking his cot on his shoulder and walking back. And then more patients started coming. Every patient was a challenge because there was no investigations. The cases of fractures, how to diagnose them without X-ray. We had developed our own methods. We used to hold a limb and try to move it. If there is a fracture, we could feel the friction of a bone, fractured bone. And then gave him plaster of Paris and after the reduction, and he got cured. Then cases of deliveries came. So we bought the forceps. We did the deliveries assisted because they had their home traditional dyes in their own villages. But when they brought to the hospital difficult labor, we helped them. But sometimes we had to do the destructive surgery. When the baby's head was probably big or the live was transverse. Before cesarean, people used to do that. But it was to feel us a little bit guilty. But after the destructive surgery, she used to ask the mother, next time if you get conceived, please come regularly for checkup. The smile on the patient's face that kept us going on. That was our energy. They started the project without funding, and then the people started helping it. After treating so many patients, we realized that only giving them medicine is not going to develop them. Malnutrition was there. So we and our work, my colleagues who also came from resigning their jobs, and about 6 initial colleagues were from cities, and we were having a community kitchen since then. And we all then decided to educate them about their rights and teach them farming. Doctors say that you take the medicine after the food and they had no food to eat. Educate them about farming, about giving them vegetables, fruit, trees and other things. So that's how in 76 we started a school. Again there was opposition from the people. They had never seen a school. Nobody was educated. But with difficulty we could get 25 students. And after the year, about 10 students, they thought that there is a disciplined life, so they didn't like the school. They went back. But those who stayed there, next year they went to their different villages, and the number of students increased. And the awareness about education spread. The first 3 students of first batch, they went up to the 12th standard. And after the 12th standard, the first student said, I got sufficient mark to get admission in medical college, I will go to Nagpur Medical College. And he got the admission, and he became medical graduate, and afterwards he did postgraduate in gynecology. And he is the first gynecologist from the area. And he came back to the district to serve his own community. He is still working there. And 2 other one of the students became teacher, the third one became the forest guard. And that's how they spread the awareness about education. Started with health, then education, then farming, awareness about the rights. And then these animals you must have seen. It's a tragedy for these animals. Actually, they have to stay in a captivity. But unfortunately, their mother, every animal's mother was killed and eaten by them. They were eating even babies also. But we came across a hunting party who had killed the monkeys. And the baby was suckling the dead mother's breast. We stopped them, requested them to give us that baby. They said, our children are hungry. How can we give this? So we bargained with them and we gave them rice in exchange of that baby. And that's how that orphanage started. Started with this monkey baby, and then we told the tribals who had started visiting hospital to please don't kill the young ones, orphan babies. So after the monkey babies, the deer fawn came. Again, the history was same, the mother was killed. And then the bear cubs and the leopard and the snakes and whatever it is, most of the animals were orphan, but they became member of our family. Initially, of course, there was no traffic, no outsiders used to come there. So we used to go for a walk, and these animals used to follow us: dogs, monkeys, leopards, and bears together. And this was a great experience. The so-called enemies, in their own environment, probably they have killed each other, but here they become my family members, and they never fought together. Dogs, I was playing with the leopard, the bear was playing with the dog, and all these things. But when the number of students increased, the number of patients increased, unfortunately we have to keep them in the cages. But still we give them limited independence. Every morning I go with a leopard for a walk in the field. And the bears also, they come for a walk. And now the hunting is, of course, almost stopped because of the education. They got employment, they are doing farming. So in that way, they started, instead of every animal was food for them, but my school children, their parents, the patients, they started observing the animals, the love of the animals. And the hunting instinct is coming down, and now hunting for food is almost stopped. So the project, which was started without any planning, without any funding, gradually it expanded with the people's help. Then Oxfam came to know about our project. They came to that forest and they helped us. Swisssaid was another organization. They said, you are living in huts. There was no water to drink. So they gave these basic things, the funding for our small houses and hospital building. So gradually the project started expanding. The workers and my colleagues, they were so dedicated. We had a common kitchen. Nothing much to eat initially except rice and dal. We had no market in that area. But nobody ever complained. Our philosophy of, living there, that we are serving for the people who had no food to eat. At least we are getting 2 square meals, rice and dal, in sufficient amount. It's a great for my colleagues that never complained about food, about entertainment, about lack of facilities. But now that roads are being constructed, the electricity came after 22 years. My son, who was also educated, both the sons with the tribal school, had some problem in getting admission in medical college. But by the time the goodwill has created in the society, one of the private college in Varda gave him admission as a free seat. So he became doctor. After graduation, he said to my father that I want to join my mother and father's work. So actually, my father was overwhelmed. He said, 3rd generation of Amtes has decided to join the work, social service, which is in this remote area. So he came back. He asked his mother that he couldn't find a partner during his college life. So he requested his mother to get a partner for him. Basically, she should be a doctor. So she gave an advertisement in matrimonial sites, and for 2 years nobody approached. That area was still remote. Moreover, it was inflicted with Naxalites, as everybody knows, Gadchiroli. So nobody wanted to come to Gadchiroli or Hemalkasa. But one fine morning, this phone call came from Goa, and the mother of a doctor girl said that she had read the profile and she wanted to get married to. So we were not much excited, but one of our friends said, let them meet separately in Pune. They both met and then decided to get married. The beauty of this marriage was that he expected MBBS graduate doctor girl, but she was gynecologist. So when they got married in 2003, Manda gave anesthesia and and she performed cesarean section, so we could save both the lives. So without any, any planned decision, it has really, it was great for her to come from Goa, and she's also dedicated as my son, and both have now constructed a 50-bedded modern hospital. Little bit has been shown there. Now the electricity is there. Another good thing is that a lot of doctors want to serve there. Not permanently, but they come for the surgical camps. For last 35 years, many surgeons, they come there. Before that, of course, we used to do all the surgeries without anesthesia or with anesthesia, but without electricity. But after some times, the doctor surgeons from Nagpur, Mumbai, Wardha, they regularly come and perform major surgeries in Hemal-Kasa. So it's awareness amongst doctors. At least they feel that they've done some good punya ka kaam jisko bolte hain. I mean, some good job. So many doctors, almost 500 doctors must have come and served the tribal free surgeries. So that is how the project is going on, but people's help. I mean, we instead of we were both are that way introvert, never gone out, gave a lecture, never presentation to anybody. But whatever we did it sincerely, and that gave us great satisfaction. Third generation, both the sons, daughter-in-laws, they are doing excellent work now. Their sons and daughters also, they are taking education with the tribal students there. And the first grandson now is in 12th standard and he wants to become a doctor. He's going to appear for the examination, NEET examination, which is in the next month. So if he gets admission, probably that will be the fourth generation of Amtes serving the tribal people. So it's a great satisfaction for both of us. Without planning anything, without any presentation, without trying for getting funds from a funding agency, we got a lot of recognition. Though we are away from media, away from politicians, my father believed only one religion, that is humanity. Yeah, so... And he was totally non-political. We are also non-political. So non-political, non-religious, and away from media. In spite of staying there for last 50 years, we got recognition. There was a feature film on us, which probably appreciated by. It is in Marathi. So in Maharashtra, many students have seen. A lot of colleges, they invite us, though we are not a speaker or anything, but they want to hear the experiences, how for 50 years, the 23rd of December 1973, the project was started. In December 2023, the 50 years completed. We had this, yes. We have passed 75 years now, and then with a lot of ups and downs. If we summarize our life, it's a great satisfaction. Recognition came afterwards, and then more people started visiting the project, and then the help is coming that way. But we are really happy that third generation, they are doing more scientifically, because now they have facilities. And I always tell people, once in a while, if you visit that project, even the Anandvan and Hemal-Kasa, you'll feel in a different world. Yeah, and we'll feel happy, of course, if you come from the people. A lot of people have already visited, but wherever I go, I give this invitation. Whenever you have a time, please visit at least once. Lastly, I will say that I have got very intimate relationship with human beings for whom we went there. tribal people. So also we have got intimate relation with all animals, all so-called cruel animals, snakes, poisonous, non-poisonous. But I can say authoritatively that animals are better than human beings. Staying with them for so many years, I am still alive. So, but tribal people, another last thing I will like to tell about this Madhya tribe, or any tribal that for that matter. The population is to about 9 crores. But their culture, we haven't seen a case of a rape in 50 years, number one. Number two, in spite of poverty, there are no beggars. And there are no locks to the houses because they don't steal. There is no robbery. And they have a community life. Whatever problem if anybody has in the village, they solve the problem in the local village. They have a panchayat system. So there's a lot of things to learn from them, except about the blind faith like human sacrifice or mantra tantras. These are the very good things. And they have a lot of patience, a lot of tolerance. And another good thing is that they don't think about tomorrow. So, not much of stress in their life. In spite of having very few things, they are happy. And now, of course, with education, the situation is changing. Almost 70 to 80% of the educated students, more than 20 students have become doctors, 10 have become lawyers, engineers, professors, and those who are not joined the higher education, they are doing farming. 70 to 80% of students have come back and serving their tribe in Gadchiroli district, including our own sons. So that's how we led a life. I'm really happy. Jepaigo, you have invited us. And thank you very much to all and all good wishes to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I think a big round of applause for a wonderful sharing of experiences. Their journey is a testament to the power of compassion and dedication in transforming lives, underline a critical role of healthcare, education, and other social determinants in uplifting marginalized communities and fostering a sense of belonging and dignity among them. We are honored, sir, madam, to have you amongst us.